Welcome to Earth Archives. As the most famous literati in modern times in the Western world, everything about Shakespeare is shrouded in mystery. Not only are there very few manuscripts left, but there are even questions about whether this person exists and whether he is someone else's pseudonym. This makes many people want to impersonate him. There are many opportunities for fraudsters. Today I will talk about one of the counterfeiting cases. Before the show starts, please subscribe, like, and turn on the little bell. If possible, leave your thoughts. This will help the growth of the show. Without further ado, let's officially start. There are many adaptations of Shakespeare's works, but you might think Shakespeare himself quickly became an untouchable classic figure. After all, who would dare to compare wit with the Bard of Avon? It seems reasonable to think so, but the truth is quite different. The most mysterious aspect of Shakespeare is that, despite his mastery of words, his surviving manuscripts are very scarce. In Shakespeare's time, handwriting was the only form of written expression. However, all his plays were published posthumously through secondary sources, and there is almost no evidence to show that he corresponded with anyone. His handwritten signatures are also very rare, appearing only on some legal documents. Since Homer, few have bequeathed such a rich literary legacy to future generations while leaving such scant records of their daily lives. With such a gap, someone was bound to try to fill it. William Henry Ireland was born in 1775, and his childhood was not happy. He was often punished at school for not paying attention in class, and at home, he did not receive love from his parents. His mother was unmarried and had a distant relationship with him. She was a maid in his father's house. His father, Samuel, was a wealthy writer who specialized in writing illustrated travel books, which were widely circulated. Given the unusual family dynamics, Samuel's lack of attention to raising his child might not be surprising. However, Samuel did give his son something: a house filled with treasures and a love for Shakespeare. To possess genuine relics of Shakespeare, Samuel told his son, is priceless. Young William Henry desperately wanted his father's approval, so he searched through their extensive collection of books. In one of Samuel's books, he found a replica of Shakespeare's signature. Additionally, he was fond of the forged poems of Thomas Chatterton, who had died 5 years before him, and the works of James Macpherson, who had published purported poems of the ancient Scottish poet, Ossian, in 1760. Literary forgery was highly respected at the time, and William Henry seemed to engage in it to gain his father's approval. Under the tutelage of a lawyer, young Ireland learned how to use special ink to write documents and then age them by heating them, making them look authentic. With several advantages at his disposal, William Henry began forging ancient documents in 1794, at the age of 18, including a contract bearing Shakespeare's signature. William Henry presented these curious items to his father, claiming to have found them in a box in a friend's attic. As he hoped, Samuel was overjoyed to receive these priceless treasures. However, William Henry did not stop there. He forged more Shakespearean documents, including love letters from Shakespeare to his wife Anne Hathaway, books annotated by Shakespeare himself, a Protestant oath of allegiance, portions of Hamlet, and the complete manuscript of King Lear. Samuel could hardly contain his joy. He invited several experts to authenticate the documents, and they concluded that the documents were genuine. One expert even found a seal that could prove the connection between these documents and Shakespeare, much to William Henry's surprise. Eventually, Samuel compiled these documents and published them under the title, Miscellaneous Papers and Legal Instruments under the Hand and Seal of William Shakespeare. Encouraged, William Henry boldly forged a previously unpublished Shakespearean play manuscript entitled, Vortigern, an historical play, telling a story of medieval betrayal and paternal discontent. After some competition, the renowned playwright Richard Brinsley Sheridan secured the rights to premiere the play. Meanwhile, as the miscellaneous papers circulated among the public, doubts began to arise, especially from Shakespearean experts in Ireland, such as Edmund Malone. Amid increasing skepticism about the authenticity of the manuscripts, Malone initiated a lengthy investigation on March 31, 1796, just 2 days before the premiere of Vortigern, originally scheduled for April 1, but vetoed by Samuel Ireland. Although William Henry's residence was crowded with people eager to see the genuine manuscripts and even touch them, Samuel had to restrict the visiting hours. Doubts began to creep into Sheridan's mind. Despite not being a great fan of Shakespeare, his manuscripts did not seem as poetic as he had imagined. Nevertheless, he ultimately chose to believe in their authenticity, largely because the parchment on which they were written was very old. The venue for the premiere of Vortigern was the newly expanded Theatre Royal in Drury Lane. On the premiere night, the theatre was packed, and tension filled the air as the curtain rose. Initially, the audience maintained decorum, recognizing fake Shakespearean elements one after another. However, when the actor playing Vortigern, John Philip Kemble, began to suspect an ad-lib, the audience grew restless. After the final curtain, some in the audience believed the play to be a genuine Shakespearean work, while others felt deceived. A brawl ensued, until Kemble announced the cancellation of all future performances of Vortigern, bringing calm to the audience. It was replaced by Sheridan's own play, The School for Scandal. The day after the premiere, Vortigern received harsh criticism, but William Henry felt relieved. A few months later, he unburdened himself by publishing a confession, absolving his father of any knowledge of the forgeries, attributing it all to his youthful folly. He also suggested that those who slandered him did so out of extreme bitterness at being deceived by a child. Instead, it was Samuel Ireland who refused to face the harsh reality. Despite the plummeting sales of his works, he continued to deny the forgery until his death 4 years later. William Henry's quest for his father's approval ultimately led to a permanent rift between them. However, the story was not entirely over. If the people of the 18th century had possessed the literary critical standards and technological analytical techniques of today, Vortigern would never have had a chance to pass as a work of Shakespeare. While Vortigern may not have made it into the ranks of Shakespeare's plays, it has not been forgotten by the literary world. In November 2008, over 2 centuries after its completion, the play was staged for the second time at Pembroke College, Cambridge University.